Good Tuesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the Jerry and Jerry Show. It's great to connect with you guys on the I Love CVille Network. This program focused on the University of Virginia, and boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Football season is underway, and there's a tangible buzz in Charlottesville. Ladies and gentlemen, our studio is in downtown Charlottesville, less than 2 miles from Scott Stadium. Training camp, all the buzz here in town. And we have first-year students and transfer students moving in on the 21st of August. Classes start on the 26th of August. And ladies and gentlemen, the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina hit Charlottesville on the 31st of August. We have college football upon us. There's one source for everything UVA related. That's Jerry Ratcliffe of jerryratcliffe.com. I'm on his website every single day as a fan and as someone who wants to prepare for this show and as someone who wants to speak intelligently about the University of Virginia. A lot to cover on the show. We'll give props and accolades to the man behind the camera at the start of the show, Judah Wickower. He directs the program and keeps us online. My friend, studio camera, and then a two-shot as we welcome the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer, a man that's a household name, Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe. My friend, good Tuesday morning to you.
Great to see you again this week, as always, and looking forward to our conversation as usual.
I am as well. Hootie, he's got a fresh haircut. He's looking sharp. He's got his row back on as well. My friend, scatter shooting training camp. You've been there on the sidelines. What have you been seeing?
Well, I think this football team is starting to come together a little bit. It's they just had their first scrimmage this past Saturday. Unfortunately, they threw the media out after the kicking drills, and once they actually started scrimmaging, so we didn't get to see very much. But I think just from talking to coaches and players, it sounds like they're making strides in every phase of the team, and that's what you were expecting in camp, is for all this influx of talent, 54 new faces, to come together and to make this a stronger football team, a team that has a chance to finally break the threshold this season and get to a bowl game.
We already have comments coming in on YouTube from ShiftGod13. He wants to talk Cam Robinson. I'll table that for now. We will bring up Cam Robinson on the program. The good, the bad, and the ugly that you've seen so far were positive people. The good of training camp first.
Well, the good, I think, is the fact that they did bring in they spent their money well, from what we can tell.
You said last week between 20 and 30 million, that number closer to 30 than it is 20. The salary cap, if you may, for this Virginia football roster. Questions have come in on that comment. I talked about that on the I Love CVille show that day at 12:30 p.m. And boy, oh boy, did we get a lot of response. Are we standing with that 20 to 30 million?
Yes, we are. And I don't think there's any argument about it from what I've been told. And, and you better do it while you can, because it looks like that there's going to be some reform with the NIL process, and this may be the last year of the big spending. So you better make it count while you can, because if it goes back to the way it was, then you've got to recruit on the same basis as everybody else. And but yeah, I think they've brought in a lot of players who could play with experience, and we've talked about the depth before at every position, and I think it's starting to show in the process. And again, we don't get a chance to watch the entire practices or the scrimmage, so we'll have to wait until the first game to see the total package like everybody else. But we do get to talk to the coaches and players, and they're very fired up and very encouraged, more so than I can remember in several years.
Viewers and listeners of the show asked this question. Georgia Gilmer and James Watson in particular. The 20 to 30 million salary cap for these players, this current roster, that number closer to 30 million. The viewers and listeners wanted to know, does that include coaches' salaries, or is that strictly pay or play?
That's pay for play.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What wild times we live in.
Yeah, I mean, we found out that they gave Jamari Taylor, through his coach at North Carolina Central, $400,000.
That's the running back.
That's the running back.
That Virginia Tech, this running back got $400,000 to come to Charlottesville to play for Virginia. Virginia Tech wanted this tailback so badly that it sent an assistant coach to recruit this running back. During a game, the Virginia Tech assistant coach weaseled his way onto the sidelines during live action and was trying to seduce and romanticize this tailback as if he was a 17-year-old asking the head cheerleader to prom. Unbelievable, that story right there. $400,000 for not even the starter potentially.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before. It may have happened, but it's the first time that I've ever actually been, it's been proven that it's happened because the head coach from North Carolina Central said so. It's interesting that we haven't heard anything else about that since it was reported, but it's crazy times we're living in. You may see just about anything these days.
Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. Put them in the feed. We'll relay them live on air. There's depth at wide receiver, another positive for this Virginia football roster.
I'm sorry, I was...
Depth at wide receiver.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They have tons of depth at wide receiver, and they brought back several players like Sudarian Harrison and Terrell Harris, who had up and down seasons, partly because of injuries last year. And then you brought in the kid from Notre Dame, a kid from Purdue, Cam Ross from JMU, who is apparently just delivering eye-popping performances in practice as not only a receiver but as a return man. He was spectacular at JMU last season. So some of the freshmen have really impressed at wide receiver. So I think they have 8 or 9 guys that have the potential to contribute this season at those 3 receiving positions. Not to mention Dakota Twitty, the tight end, who is a former wide receiver, and even though he's not totally built like a tight end, he's a little bigger than your average wide receiver now since he switched over to tight end. But listening to Tony Elliott talk about him the other day, he's a guy with incredible potential to play in the NFL for a long time if he develops the way they hope he will. And I guess the one thing that's holding him back is, from a wide receiver, it was a different kind of blocking assignment than as a tight end, where you got to take on bigger people. But that's one of the things that he has to really work on to become all that he can be. But they're really high on him. They think he's one of the best players on the team.
Viewers and listeners, if you're just tuning in, we'll again reiterate the number spent on this current roster, between 20 and 30 million for players alone. That number closer to 30 million than 20. That does not include coaching salaries. That's players alone. This football team is in a must-win scenario with the head coach in year 4. Going into year 4, the least amount of victories over the last 3 years of any power football team out there. And this team right now, on paper, looks like it's primed for success. We will get to the schedule in a matter of moments. Some folks saying one of the easiest schedules in all of the country, not just the ACC, but all of the country. We'll get to those in a matter of moments. Hootie, I'm going to throw this to you. From an offensive standpoint, and we'll get to the injuries on the offensive line, but first the pros, the positives. From an offensive standpoint, you got an extremely experienced quarterback that's posted mind-boggling statistical production everywhere he's gone. You got depth at the wide receiving core. You got as much depth as I've seen in a long time at the running back position since when Wally Lundy was in a loaded backfield. Who was in the backfield with Wally Lundy when he was early in his career?
Let's see. Who was the other guy?
I mean, he had 2 stars. All that'll come to me here in a matter of moments. A loaded backfield with Wally Lundy. But you got wide receiver depth. You got running back depth, a talented quarterback, depth on the offensive line. Looks to me on paper this offense should be full of firepower.
I think Alvin Pierman.
I think it was Alvin
the other
Pierman,
guy who's been a guest on our show.
And both those guys play the National Football League.
Yes, they did. And before we move on to that, when it comes back to that money, that just look at what North Carolina has spent, and what they've spent on their football program this year is $50 million, and that's players and coaching staff and general managers. So the 20 to 30 is right in line with North Carolina's 50. And North Carolina probably spent a little bit more, but those numbers are not unreal numbers in what's going on out there right now.
That's the norm to put a contender on the field.
Yeah, I mean, Texas Tech has blown people away,
Right.
spent even more than that. But we're talking about the offense. I think the offense has a lot of potential, and that's going to be the whole key, because what's held this program back for the previous 3 years is they just couldn't produce enough points to win games. They've lost a lot of close games because they failed in the red zone and made mistakes, but a lot of it is that they could move the ball from 20 to 20, but once they get in the red zone, they've struggled. And how many times did we see them get down inside the 10, inside the 5 last year, and had to settle for field goals? And that just can't happen if they're going to do what they hope to do this year. And it looks like they have the talent to finally break through, and they have to, because their scoring offense their numbers have been horrible for 3 years now. And like you said, they have an experienced quarterback who's put up big numbers. They have at least 3 running backs that have played and produced at various programs. They've got wide receivers from their own program and from outside who have been impressive, and it looks like there's some potential, big play potential there. But I think the whole key is the offensive line and how they perform, and if they can live up to the expectations. They haven't the most depth on the offensive line maybe in the history of the program.
The last time I've seen this kind of talent on the offensive line and depth in the offensive line, maybe the Al Groh era.
Yeah, and they may have had more talent then, because a lot of those guys ended up in the NFL, but I'm not even sure they had the depth that this offensive line has. Maybe not the quality, but the depth. And if those guys deliver and they can produce a running game that will take the pressure off of Chandler Morris and let him find his receivers and prevent and keep him clean so he doesn't have to run for his life like Anthony Calandria did for 2 years, they have potential to put some points on the board, and a lot of them.
The offensive line we're talking about has been a weakness of late for Virginia. It's on paper a strength. It did suffer an injury that's quite impactful. Macklin Thomas has undergone surgery for a broken bone in his foot. This on JerryRatcliffe.com. He's out as much as 3 months. He was the projected starting right offensive tackle, Macklin Thomas. Coach Elliott said he stepped wrong and ended up with a fractured bone in his foot. He had surgery a few days ago. He's hopeful that he comes back in 3 months, but obviously that's TBD because everybody heals differently. This is a tough injury right here to a very talented offensive lineman.
Yeah, it is, and it's a tough break to get injured in training camp like that before you even get a chance to play it down. You got to feel bad for him and any other guys that suffer those kind of injuries, especially in a non-contact drill when you just
multiple guys.
You just happen to land on the with the wrong balance or whatever, and end up with a broken bone that keeps you out. But the beauty of the depth that they brought in is that they have several other guys ready to step in at that position, and there's 4 or 5 guys vying for that starting job right now. So it's not like that they don't have. It's not like before when if that happened, they were just up the creek because they just didn't have anybody ready. But now they've got several contenders for that position.
On JerryRatcliffe.com, Ben York, a 6'5", 305-pound second year. David Wallabow, Wallace Unamba, Jack Whitmore, John Adar. These are all viable options for this position. Interestingly, the viable options for the right tackle position include a 5th year, a 6th year, another 5th year, and then a 1st year and a 2nd year.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about depth here. You got a 6-year who's 6'6", 335 pounds from Dallas, Texas, that may plug and play at the right tackle spot.
Yeah, and again, that's where the money came in handy was I'm sure that Tony Elliott was just sickened by the fact the last 3 years that and Terry Heffernan, the line coach, you walk into that room on Monday or Tuesday and you look around and guys are beat up or sick and can't go, and you have to wonder, who's next? Who can I plug into this position? It's maybe somebody that's completely not ready to play or playing out of position. And we saw the results of it last year. They'd get down and they couldn't move the ball when they had to. They couldn't protect Calandria. That shouldn't be the problem this year, but that was a massive problem up until now.
The ugly now. We've talked good. We've talked really good. We've talked depth. We've talked offensive firepower. We've highlighted some injuries. Another item that came up in training camp, Coach Elliott really ripped into these boys for lack of discipline.
He did, and I was glad to see that or hear it. We didn't get to see it because the media's kept outside the practice field, which is, if you haven't been over there, there's gates all around the field, and they have tarp over them so you can't watch from outside, but we can hear. And at the end of practice, at least for the second time in the first couple of weeks, first 10 days, we heard Tony Elliott unleash on these guys at the end of practice and do some wind sprints. But I thought it was a healthy thing to hear him. I won't say dress down the team, but he let his frustrations be known about the fact that they have struggled in the red zone for 3 years, the fact that they have beaten themselves with mindless penalties in the fourth quarter, or sometimes late in the fourth quarter, some special teams snafus late in the games that have cost them, and I think he's just so tired of beating, Virginia beating Virginia, and it's a hard enough game as it is.
Amen, brother.
You can't beat yourself. The difference usually between a good team and a mediocre team is a good team doesn't beat itself, and that's what he's trying to drive into these guys on a daily basis. Just don't help the enemy. Let's play smart football. Don't beat yourself. Make them beat you, and that's sometimes the difference. He has said it time and time again. We've heard every Virginia coach say this for years, decades, is that most ACC games come down to a handful of plays, often in the final minutes of a game. And the team that doesn't beat itself usually wins those contests. So he's trying to drive that home, and I thought it was very good to hear that he's bringing that kind of intensity to practice. I think that's what a good football coach does.
I agree with that. I'll also, add this. Michael Guthrie, welcome to the broadcast. Lauren and Ivy, Carol Thorpe, DJ Morbely, just to name a few. Virginia fans, let us know your thoughts. I'm going to get to your questions and comments in about 5 minutes. So put them in the feed, and then I will relay them live on air to the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer. Some of this is on the coaching staff, too. There was a lot of third quarters coming out of the locker room where the team lost the third period.
Right. Yeah, and we talked to Tony about that ad nauseum last year. I think he probably got tired of hearing the question, but it was something that he put emphasis on, and he calls it that 8-minute stretch, the final 4 minutes of the second quarter and the first 4 minutes of the third quarter. How you come out of the locker room makes a big difference, and they were atrocious at that for a huge portion of the season last year, and I think that's why they went from 4-1 to ended up 5-7 because they just couldn't get it done coming out of the locker room. Even I think even in a couple of games they won, they didn't do very well coming out of the locker room at halftime. So we haven't really heard him say anything about that in training camp. So hopefully he has addressed it in the offseason amongst himself and the coaching staff to where they have found some solutions to prevent that from being a weakness this year.
Comments coming in now. Viewers and listeners, put them in the feed. I will relay them live on air. Cam Robinson. People want to talk Cam Robinson. Give us the Cam Robinson scoop.
He's off to a good camp from what we gather.
Super talented linebacker.
Yeah, and I think this is a year where he's going to break out and have his best season. I remember last year, last year he talked about his first year as a starter. He was just trying to drink from a fire hose and really use his raw athletic ability to make plays. Last year, he felt more comfortable. The game had slowed down for him. And the one thing about him, he's so tough. He's so physically tough and mentally tough. He continued to play as long as he could last year, where most guys in his situation would have probably shut it down. That's how much the game means to him and how tough he is, how much he can endure. He was personally insulted that he wasn't among the 8 linebackers selected in the preseason ACC voting as for preseason honors, and somebody made a comment. Maybe it was John Rudzinski, the defensive coordinator, said we haven't seen the real Cam Robinson yet, or someone made that comment, and we asked Cam about it, and he says, "You're about to."
I love it.
So he's fired up and he's ready to go, and that's what they need. They've got a solid linebacking core with him and Jackson and McDonald, some other young guys and some transfers come in, but they should be good there. But Cam Robinson is where it all starts. I think he calls the defense, and he's what an inspirational guy to build your defense around. He's the kind of guy you want in that spot, no question about it.
Let us know your thoughts, viewers and listeners. Put them on the social media platform or podcasting platform you're watching upon. I will relay them to the Virginia Sports Hall of Famer. Comments continue to come in. This one from Wise, Virginia, an active follower of your Twitter account, Rich. His handle, @Cavalier of UVA. He says, "Good morning from Wise County, Virginia. This is a politics question. I've been wondering this on our 12:30 show, the I Love CVille show. Since Jim Ryan has stepped down, Hootie Ratcliffe, do you believe the Board of Visitors at UVA will make a change at athletic director? Why or why not?"
Wow.
Jim Ryan, in a lot of ways, the bulletproof vest or the Teflon offering protection for Carla Williams.
Yeah.
The reason for Carla Williams to come under fire or scrutiny is she hired Tony Elliott. 3 years of Tony Elliott, the least amount of wins, UVA, in any of power football. The basketball program has clearly slipped, including last year, which a lot of folks have said was somewhat of a debacle. The baseball program has struggled. The lacrosse team, men's lacrosse team, finished with a sub-500 record. The flip side to that argument is the Olympic sports, the non-revenue sports, some of the best in the nation. They routinely, as an athletic department, as an aggregate, are one of the best athletic departments, performance-wise, in the country.
Yep.
Fundraising is off the chain. Goodness gracious, did they fill the coffers for this NIL push? 20 to $30 million for this football roster alone. So that's the flip side. Jim Ryan, in a lot of ways, Carla Williams' biggest advocate.
Yeah, you got to give her a lot of credit for helping bring that money into the program for the NIL, and I think that's been part of her plan was to try to upgrade football because that's what she was brought in here to do.
From Georgia.
And you got to give her kudos for making a tremendous hire of Ryan Odom and a tremendous hire of Chris Pollard. I think those are two home runs to her credit. I know a lot of people are very unsatisfied with the football, but we'll see. We'll see what this season brings. I'm still not sure, and I've talked about this on a couple of sports talk radio shows around the state yesterday and last week.
He was a guest on Ed Lade's show, and he was a guest on Luke Neer's show. This man is a coveted commodity.
And then ESPN Richmond last week. I still don't know. I don't have a good finger on the pulse of this. It's what the fan base accepts as a successful football season this year. Is it 6-6? Get to a bowl game?
I'm not satisfied with 6-6.
7-5 and beating Virginia Tech? Is it 8-4? I don't know. I have a feeling most people would like to see at least 7 wins with a win over Tech. Where that puts the AD and all this, I don't know, because if football fails, obviously it's going to be she's going to be held accountable for that, whether it's her fault or not. I mean, it was her hire, but you got to give her credit. She's doing everything she can right now to help the football program succeed. I don't even know where the Board of Visitors stand. You probably have a better grip on that than I do because of all the, like you said, all the political ping pong we're seeing out there. And who knows, are these Board of Visitors even going to be the Board of Visitors by the end of football season?
That's it.
So I don't think anybody can predict what's going to happen to the upper echelon of the academic side of the university with the Board of Visitors and the president and all that right now, with all the political stuff flying in the air with an election coming up in November. So I think we're just going to have to ride the wave and see what happens, because I don't think anybody knows, to tell you the truth.
Hootie Ratcliffe is all over it. Humble man over here. I got this text message over the weekend from an insider very close to the Board of Visitors. I'll read it verbatim. He's given me approval to relay this live on air. We did this yesterday on the show.
Oh, okay.
Without obviously breaching trust and protecting his anonymity. He says, and I'll set the stage here. Cree Deeds, who is a member of the Virginia Senate, he represents the 11th District. He currently has a deadline of August 15th, which is a few days from now. Today's the 12th of August. And that August 15th deadline, Cree Deeds, the Virginia senator, sent in a very pointed, investigative letter, a letter based on questions. Was it 42 questions? It was like 46 questions. Thank you, Judah Wickower. 46 questions, pointed questions to the rector and the vice rector of the UVA Board of Visitors. And those questions were focused on why Jim Ryan resigned and the plot or the ploy to get Jim Ryan to resign. So here's what the insider texted me. I'll relay it live on air. Again, I have his approval to do this. He said the Cree Deeds investigative letter is all about malfeasance. Rachel Sheridan, who's the Board of Visitors rector, is the hatchet woman sent by Governor Glenn Youngkin to clean house. Rachel Sheridan is now the target of Virginia Democrats. In short, she is required by law to respond to Creed Deeds' letter and answer his 46 questions. If she does not, future Governor Abigail Spanberger, we all anticipate she will win, Abigail Spanberger will declare she committed Rachel Sheridan malfeasance by not responding, and then Spanberger will remove Rachel Sheridan. If she responds and reveals that any or all of Creed Deeds' allegations of coordination with the Department of Justice or Donald Trump's administration, then Rachel Sheridan will also face malfeasance charges. I believe, this is the insider talking, I believe she is the one behind the removal of Dr. Craig Kent, who was the CEO of UVA Health. You can expect litigation, he says, around that removal. And the insider says, I understand that Rachel Sheridan is the one that the DOJ lawyer was working with to remove Jim Ryan. Finally, the insider says, after I read Creed Deeds' letter, there is someone with very deep knowledge that is talking to him. How else will he know all the dates in his letter where he asked the 46 questions? So the expectation is this is the politics of it all, and we'll bring it back to sports. It is a sports show. Abigail Spanberger is, on paper right now, a clear front runner to beat Winsome Earl Sears for governor. And if Abigail Spanberger wins the governor's race in November, she may change the complete dynamic of this board.
Yeah.
And she'll utilize the precedent set by Glenn Youngkin when he fired Burt Ellis. And Glenn Youngkin appointed Burt Ellis. So if a governor who appoints a board member is willing to fire someone, what will a new governor do that's the complete different politics of the board when she didn't appoint any of those board members? And the governor can do it based on this word called malfeasance, where it's basically up to the governor's interpretation of who they want to fire or not.
Wow.
And if the governor goes and fires a lot of these board members so they can get control of the board, there is some scuttlebutt around Charlottesville that Jim Ryan, who's on a 14-month sabbatical where he's paid the same compensation he earned as president of UVA, may get reappointed to president. Unbelievable.
Wow. Yeah, it's
wild times.
It is wild. It's as wild as the NIL stuff we're going through on the other end. But so
that would protect Carla Williams.
So Rich out there in Wise County.
Yeah, there's your answer in a long way.
There's your answer, and so I can't answer that. So I don't know that anybody can with all this tornado headed our way. So who knows what's going to happen in the next several months? And I would say right now, I would think her job is safe.
100%. And she just got a contract renewal.
Yeah.
An unannounced contract renewal by the board.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to see a change.
The one wrinkle that could cause crossfire or raise the heat on Carla Williams is if this team struggles. If this football team lays an egg.
Yeah, if this team lays an egg, all cards are off the table. But I don't think it will. I think this team is too good with the investment that she has helped produce to fail. I just don't see it. I mean, if they were playing last year's schedule, that would be a bigger question mark in my mind. But with the schedule that they're playing and the talent they brought in, I just don't see any way this team fails.
That's a perfect segue into the Twitter exchange you had with Mikey Surf about the schedule. I thought you handled it very well.
Well, I don't like to get into our Twitter wars with people, and Mikey is always has his opinions, and I think most people don't like talking to Mikey Surf because he thinks like he's never wrong. But he was, I think, attacking Luke Neer for of WINA's best seat in the House because Luke talks a lot about Virginia playing the weakest schedule in the country, and Mikey took exception to that. But that came from national publications who examine those sort of things, and Mikey's argument is, well, it's preseason, you can't tell who's going to have a good season. particularly in these days of NIL, because the rosters are in a state of flux, and there's some truth to that.
Both guys are right.
Both guys are right, but it is, on paper, the weakest schedule in the country. Virginia is the only power conference team that has 0 ranked opponents, at least preseason, on its schedule. There's a lot of those teams on the schedule that I don't think have any chance of having a good year. Probably 4 or 5 of them at least. There are some teams on there that have potential to make the top 25 at some point during the season. I think Florida State, Louisville, and North Carolina all have opportunities to break into the top 25 at some juncture. But right now they don't. They're not ranked, and that's the schedule Virginia was dealt with. Just like last year's schedule was, I thought, one of the tougher schedules in the country. And particularly the back end of it when they were playing one top 25 team after the other. So anyways, it is the weakest schedule in the country. And
I mean, one of the national publications straight up called it the 4th weakest schedule in the nation.
yeah, I think actually Wake Forest supposedly has the weakest schedule in the country. I think Virginia's is. You're right. I think they're ranked 4th.
It was the 4th by one of the.
Yeah.
And it's, look at the roster. Look at the schedule, guys. It's not. You miss Clemson. You miss Miami.
You
miss
SMU.
SMU. I mean, you don't have a lot of the preseason top players in the preseason All ACC team.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys on the preseason All ACC team, Virginia's missing as well. I mean, and I understand the comment about who knows what's going to happen because all these rosters are brand new. That's fair as well. But we've always done preseason polls, and we've always talked preseason scheduling.
Yeah.
It's nothing new.
I mean, you look at Coastal Carolina is not predicted to win their conference. William and Mary is William and Mary. Stanford is picked very low in the ACC, even though they have a new coach in Frank Reich, and Andrew Luck is the general manager. Washington State has a new coaching staff. They're not predicted to have a great season. Cal is predicted toward the bottom of the ACC. Wake Forest is predicted toward the bottom of the ACC. So unless something out of the ordinary happens, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games that against teams that I just don't think are going to have very good seasons, and that's half your schedule. That's and some of those are the 50-50 games we keep talking about. That along with the NC State game, the Duke game, and the Virginia Tech game. A lot of those are going to be 50-50 games, and how Virginia performs in those games is going to depend on where this team goes. If it has a break-even season, qualifies for a cold weather bowl, goes 7-5, goes 8-4. If they pull a couple upsets, who knows? They could end up doing something miraculous, but that nobody expects. But at least half your schedule is against teams that aren't considered very good, and you got to win those games. You have to, because you don't know, you can't count on some of the others.
Can't count on Virginia Tech. I wouldn't count on UNC. I wouldn't count on Duke. I wouldn't count on Louisville.
NC State.
Yeah.
That's a huge game.
NC
We've talked
State,
about that for weeks now.
We said maybe the most important game on the schedule.
If you go down and beat NC State, and NC State is going to be favored in that game, there's no question about it. But NC State's coming off a year where they were 6-7 and lost to East Carolina in a bowl game. So if you can go down there and win that game, you have a chance to go 4-0 against Coastal Carolina, William and Mary, and Stanford. 3 of those 4 games at home, with Florida State coming to town for a big Friday night game.
Monster game.
Yeah, and who knows what can happen, because they didn't exactly tear it up last year either.
And the success of this Virginia football team is not just about saving Tony Elliott and the coaching staff job or keeping the heat off the athletic director, Carla Williams. It's also about driving, in a lot of ways, the local economy for small businesses in the region. You talk to any of these small businesses and they say when you have a successful team in a sold-out Scott Stadium, they are able to pay their bills easier. And what's happened over the last 3 years has dramatically impacted locally owned and operated business, the hoteliers, the restaurants, the retail stores, because the attendance and engagement is just not what it is. And folks, the top 4 teams from a preseason prediction standpoint in the ACC, Clemson, Miami, SMU, and Georgia Tech. UVA does not face either of those 4 teams. And how about this statistic? There were 27 players on the ACC preseason all-conference team. Virginia will only face 6 of the 27 players on the preseason team.
Wow.
So on paper, it's an easy schedule.
Yes.
I get what Mikey Surf is saying, that all these rosters, how can you assess them when the rosters are brand new? I understand that. But what Luke Neer is doing on Best Seat of the House is doing the on-paper analysis.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. I think he's right on. I think he's spot on with his analysis. And, I totally defend what he's saying.
Let us know your thoughts, viewers and listeners. We've continued to say that NC State game is must-win for this team. And I'll ask you this question. What is a year that is seen as success for this fan base that is apathetic and angry?
Yeah, I'd like to hear from our viewers as to what they believe is a successful season. I'm thinking it's.
I think it's 8 wins.
You think so?
It's 8 wins for me.
You don't think 7 and 5 is good enough?
Olivia Branch, your thoughts. John McAllister is a diehard fan. He's watching the program. Betsy Nugent, your thoughts on this. Georgia Gilmer, your thoughts on this. Michael Guthrie, your thoughts on this. Jesse Rutherford, your thoughts on this. Jeremy Wilson is watching in Eastern Tennessee. Your thoughts on this. For me, it's 8 wins. 7 wins is a 7 wins with this schedule. It almost seems like that's not just the expectation. That should happen. You spend close to $30 million on a roster of players.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can see that point. I'm just wondering if 7 and 5 with one of those wins being against Virginia Tech would be enough to satisfy the fan base going forward.
All right, I'll change that comment. I'll take 7 and 5 with a victory over Virginia Tech, as opposed to 8 wins and a loss to the Hokies.
Yeah.
I will take that. Because
Yeah.
if you go 7 and 5 and you beat Virginia Tech, Virginia probably gets that entire Blacksburg coaching staff fired.
Yeah, I would say you're probably right about that. And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
You're saying, is it a good thing for Virginia to have Brent's coaching staff survive another year in Blacksburg? You're probably right.
Yeah.
Because they've underachieved.
Right. I don't know. But, yeah, I'm curious as to how the fans are seeing this. I don't think 6 and 6 is good enough.
No.
I don't know that he would lose his job if they finish 6 and 6 and go to a cold weather bowl, because from the AD's perspective, that's another step forward in the program from 3 wins to 5 wins to 6 wins in a bowl, possibly a bowl win, which would be 7 wins. But I think I think 7 should be a good expectation, and anything on top of that is just gravy.
Very interesting to see if Virginia Tech does make a coaching change, if it goes hard for hard after Shane Beamer of South Carolina. Had success there. There's a Netflix documentary that's absolutely fantastic. Follows the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, I've
And
hehonest of that.
It's tremendous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely tremendous. And they sit down
Any given Saturday or something like that?
something. I think that's what it's called. Any given Saturday. I think that is what it's called. I've watched the first handful of episodes. Shane Beamer's in there, one of the most likable guys, coaching wise, out there.
Yeah, just like his dad.
Just like his dad. And he said he went to South Carolina because he's not Frank Beamer's son at South Carolina. But he highlights in the Netflix documentary the importance, the emotional tie, and the love he has for Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And, but to your point,
But would he want to come there and live in that shadow?
if he goes to Virginia Tech and lives in that shadow, he weighs the scales of justice with being a middle tier to bottom tier in the best conference in America. And I would bet Virginia Tech, not that South Carolina already hasn't done this, would give him a Brinks truck of money.
He would. They should. They
Right.
should.
Because they've been completely down since the Foster Beamer era. Maybe
Yeah.
they made the mistake of not going the Bud Foster route.
Yeah. And South Carolina, I'm sure, would do anything they can to keep him too, because they've brought in Lou Holtz. They brought in all kinds of people, and
Steve Spurrier.
Steve Spurrier
Yeah.
couldn't win.
Right.
I mean, they could win, but they couldn't take the program to the level where their fans have the expectations as a.
Which is a brutal conference. I mean, he went in
Yeah.
his first year at South Carolina 7-6, then 8-5 in his second year, 5-7 in his third, 9-4 in his fourth. He's entering his fifth season, 2025. Shane Beamer. He's 29-22 overall and 15-17 in conference play. He's been to 3 bowl games. He's won 1.
Beaten Clemson a couple of times.
Yeah,
In big games.
in
Really
big games. Yeah. So I don't know. Time will tell what Virginia Tech does. Speaking of the Hokies, do you have a take on the Hokies, Hootie?
I haven't really been following them that closely. I've been devoting all my time to Virginia, so I don't. Just a casual observation. It's I think there's more pressure on that coaching staff than there is on the one here in Charlottesville, because their fan base has higher expectations because they pour almost all of their money into football down there.
Right.
I saw something the other day where their AD presented something to their board of visitors that Virginia is way outspending Virginia Tech in athletics, and I'm sure that Whit Babcock is trying to make that more equitable in terms of bringing more money into their program to where they can keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. So it's going to be interesting to see how that arms race develops over the next couple of years as well.
Is Clemson your clear-cut best, with Miami in your clear-cut second slot?
Yeah, and Clemson. I've seen a lot of people picking Clemson to maybe win the national championship, and because their schedule is so favorable, if they get by LSU in that opening game at Clemson, there's not a whole lot in their way, and so they could ride a pretty powerful wave into the college football playoffs. Miami, there's always something that holds me back from jumping on the Miami bandwagon, even though last year they were pretty good with Cam Ward. But I think Cam Ward was an exception. I'm not sure the guy they brought in from Georgia is going to be able to duplicate what Cam Ward did for the Hurricanes last season.
Carson Beck.
I just don't think he's the same quality of football player. But I still think Louisville is a sleeper. I think Georgia Tech is a sleeper. That guy has done a great job.
Georgia Tech preseason number 4.
Turning them around. I mean, he's done a tremendous job. He was on Nick Saban's staff for quite a while before he came to Atlanta. So
their quarterback, Georgia Tech's starting quarterback, on the short list for Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh, he's a dynamo.
He is a dynamo.
I mean, he not only can he throw the ball, he's an incredible threat to run, and a big kid too. Sean King, I think. Then SMU, who knows? again, they've spent tons of money out there.
Don't sleep on the ponies.
They've got their quarterback returning. They've got a good offense. So, and there's always that big question mark in Chapel Hill. What's Bill Belichick going to do? You just don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens down there with all the money they've put into that program in the past year. $50 million is they're not going to expect. They didn't spend $50 million to win 7 games.
I know. It's Belichick has got the pressure out of the gate in North Carolina. This Virginia football team poised for success. We've gone the entire hour and haven't even talked basketball. Anything we're missing out of the football notebook?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it pretty well. Again, I think it was interesting listening to Gaither yesterday talk about how they've put a lot more emphasis on special teams this year and studied the breakdowns that hurt them last year. They've got their some key people back on all the units, and the addition of Cam Ross, it sounds like he could be a dynamic return man for him, and that's something that they could use for sure. But I think we've pretty well covered the football.
Comments coming in here. We'll get to some comments from the viewers and listeners. This one from Randy O'Neill. Do you guys know if the players get workman's comp if they're injured? I have no idea.
I don't think so, but
I mean, there's no real union, so I would say no. But I don't have that answer.
Yeah, I think even some NFL players are having some insurance issues, but
Yeah.
I don't think they do from everything I gather.
Tim Bates, watching in Evington, Virginia. He's pumped to see what product Coach Tony Elliott puts on the field this year. This question's come in multiple times over the last couple weeks. Who is the clear-cut leader and alpha dog of the team?
I think it has to be Chandler Morris. He's the quarterback. He's a guy that's been around. What do we say? He's 24 years old. He's
basically the age of Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
Starting quarterback for the Commanders.
I think he won the respect in the spring, and it's only increased throughout the summer and training camp. I think everybody looks toward him, and I think that's one reason that Tony Elliott named him the starting quarterback early on, to use that leadership to bring this team together as fast as possible.
Hootie Ratcliffe, what do you got in the hopper at JerryRatcliffe.com?
Just more football and more football with a watchful eye on basketball recruiting. They've been included in the top 8, 9, 10 schools on some of the top 50 players lists in basketball, and they don't have anybody committed to the 26 class yet. So if one of those guys breaks through, who knows, it might be an onslaught of more, but open up the floodgates. But Ryan Odom's going after top 100 talent.
He's going after the creme de la creme.
And that's what it's all about, is the acquisition of talent. And if you don't have it, too bad.
I like that. Too bad. Jerry Ratcliffe is a Virginia Sports Hall of Famer. You can read his musings, his analysis, and his reporting on JerryRatcliffe.com. JerryRatcliffe.com is how literally I start my morning. I did it this morning over a bowl of Cocoa Puffs with our 3-year-old chasing the dog around our breakfast table. I let our 3-year-old chase Max, the German Shepherd, because I was in the middle of reading the special teams article about Cam Ross on JerryRatcliffe.com. Judah Wickhauer is behind the camera, the only man I know that can make a button-down shirt, denim, and an undershirt look comfortable in 100-degree heat. He's cooler than the other side of the pillow, as Stuart Scott used to say, the late, great
right.
Stuart Scott of ESPN. Jerry Ratcliffe, always distinguished and dapper, the namesake of JerryRatcliffe.com. I love doing the show with you, Hootie.
Well, Tony Elliott called Dakota Twitty, the tight end, the glue man of the offense the other day. Well, our glue man is sitting right there, as you were talking about earlier with Judah.
Judah Wickhauer, absolutely right. The I Love CVille show up at 12:30. Check out jerryratcliffe.com right now. He's got a lot in the hopper, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you kindly for joining us so long.
Thank you, brother.